Good evening, erudite speaker and great asset of the Institute, Vijay sir, and the members of the Institute who are attending this 2-day virtual meeting on networking. Networking is so important in the current scenario because of automation and I can say the expansion of the areas of operation that we have to explore the opportunities and all, and the specialization cannot be like earlier one man all doing all activities. No more those days are no more there to improve the quality of performance and also expansion of the professional opportunities. Under these circumstances, networking has been there for quite some time, but the guidelines are issued recently a year ago, it is in 2021, and the person with great knowledge and also being at the helm of affairs as Central Council member, Vijay sir would be the right person to take up these issues on this. And I welcome you all. I welcome you very warmly to this SIRC program, sir. And I take the privilege of introducing you very briefly. You don't require any introduction, but still it is the decency demands at SIRC that we have to do that. Here, the MP Kumar sir, he has 30 years of experience in industry and also as a chartered accountant in practice. His work experience is 2007 till date. From 2007 till date, he is Chief Financial Officer and a partner from 1999 to 2007 and 1999, 92 to 99, head industrial banking and company secretary of SIFI, Yoganand and Ram LLP Chartered Accountants, Sundaram Finance, and present directorship in LIC of India. Proud, we are very proud that you are part of that organization, sir, now. And GeoG Financial Services and Heritage Foods Limited, Vijay Engineering Limited, India Software Services Limited, SIFI Singapore Limited, and a former directorship in National Internet Exchange of India, XBRL India Limited, and resource person for professionals, accounting standards, IFRS, auditing standards, code of ethics, corporate law, governance, and capital markets. For students over 20 years of teaching subject of accounting, financial reporting, and corporate law, and the associations has been in CII, IIA, HD, and NASCOM, and publications has authored 10 popular titles with extensive readership and continuous reprints over the past 15 years. And he has been awarded Capital Foundation by Society and also National Award for the contribution to financial accounting. And he's also the council of the ICAI as chairman. He has worked in from 2019 to 22 on as chairman of Accounting Standards Board ASB, 18 to 19 Valuation Standards Board, and also 17-18 Digital Accounting and Assurance Standards Board. As vice chairman in these 3 years, Expert Advisory Committee and Financial Review Reporting Board, Committee on Accounting Standards for Local Bodies, and also nominee member on National Financial Reporting Meeting NAFRA, and Quality Review Board, SEBI Committee on Disclosures and Accounting Standards. With this brief introduction, I have a pleasure in introducing and presenting before the MP sir, who has his own standards worth emulating. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Panaraj, for the invite to this event and also for the kind words of introduction. Greetings to all the members who are present. In fact, I think SIRC was planning to do this as an in-person event, and when I initially accepted, I was so excited that probably after quite some time I'll get opportunity to meet many of you in person. but eventually it turned out to be a virtual event. I keenly look forward to meeting you all in person. The earliest. So as far as the topic is concerned, first 90 minutes, I will introduce the topic in 4 sections, and I will leave close to about 20 plus minutes for an interaction on this particular topic. Now, I hope the slide is visible. Selva, slide is visible?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir. Please.
Okay, great. That's excellent. Okay. So just a small caveat as I get to introduce the topic. This is a topic which is an evolving topic, and there's still some work to be done. So whatever views I share are my personal professional views and should not be seen as views of the institute of which council I was part of when these guidelines were in the drafting stage. So what I'll do is I'll spend a minute on ICAI Vision 2030 just to bring the interlinkage with the institute's effort to make networking of firms a success. Second, I'll give you a peek into the composition of the audit firms and why networking is important. All of you are familiar, but sometimes when you look at statistics, it actually makes you to believe that there is work to be done by all of us collectively. Then I'll speak generally about the concept of networking of firms as I've experienced it with various firms. And lastly, I'll spend substantial amount of time on the ICAI networking guidelines 2021, which actually has 3 documents. There are 3 guidelines there. So 3 documents, I'll walk you through those 3. As far as Vision 2030 is concerned, this is the document which was published by the Institute in 2011. And it was published after good amount of research and consultative process. And I personally, both in my corporate life and even as in practice association with various businesses, I found that this vision document of the Institute was one of the finest documents. It set down about 4 components of the vision, 5 components of mission, and 6 strategic priorities. It's a very beautifully written, simple document way back in 2011. And I sincerely wish all of us together, make this a reality by 2030. So one of the elements in the Vision 2030 is to ensure that the members maintain highest standards of clarity, transparency, and disclosure, and are in a position to give an independent, informed, and balanced opinion. Then coming to the mission, as I said, there are 5 elements of the mission. I'll draw your attention to the last one, is to harness global opportunities and build capabilities to service clients across the world. I have witnessed this happening over a period of time. I know of several accounting firms in India who are actually serving many geographies, and that class of firms is only increasing. There are also a few accounting firms in India now who have got themselves registered with a regulator in US like Public Companies Accounting Oversight Board, and sitting in India, they audit a company which is, say, headquartered in Hong Kong, which is listed in NASDAQ. So that category of firms are on the rise. and this has been one of the elements of the mission which has been set out in this vision document of the Institute. And when it came to the strategic priorities for achieving the Vision 2030, this document listed down about 6 priorities, and they have dealt with in reasonable amount of detail as to how we should go about achieving this. The first of the 6, which is relevant to the topic for our discussion now, is to create an enabling framework for and facilitate Indian firms and professionals to leverage global opportunities. So that's the vision of the Institute, broken up into its 3 key components: vision, mission, and strategic priorities. Now, some facts on the ground which will help us understand what we need to do to achieve the 3 things which we just saw. So this is the last 15 years of the Institute statistics relating to the practicing units. From the bottom 2006, if you keep seeing, proprietary firms from about 32,000, 2020 statistics. I couldn't collect the recent statistics from the Institute, but these statistics are good enough for us to get a sense of the problem statement in hand and how we want to address it. So 32,000 to 65,000 proprietary firms, partnership firms from 13,000 to 26,000. And if you look at the period between 2006 to 2011, that was almost a period where literally there was stagnation in terms of the number of practice units. You actually see the number of practice units going up after 2014-15, given various changes around. At that point of time, a potential GST law at that point in time, the New Companies Act, which brought in rotation of auditors, and then RERA, and so many other aspects as well. And also, maybe in one of the subsequent slides, I would show to you that between 2000 to 2010, a substantial number of people actually choose industry as an option. And as part of their mid-career move, many of them, after 10-15 years of experience in industry, have started getting back into practice. So between 2000, 2003, 2005, many of them actually moved to industry. 10-15 years of experience in industry, they've all started coming back to practice. So that's how you see the increase in statistics. As far as the partnership firms are concerned, this is the area of topic for us to discuss now. Of the 25,000 partnership firms, half of them are partnership firms with 2 partners. And 2 partners, most occasions we know, are family members or probably largely tax practitioners, relatively small practice. Between 3 to 10 and maybe 11 to 20 also, 3 to 10, many of these partnerships which I have come across, and for a very candid conversation here, a large number of this 11,741 are partnerships which were largely people coming together for empanelments, for demonstrating size, for getting audits, and there were less of true partnerships where all the 4 partners, all the 6 partners, all the 8 partners would attend office every day morning 9 to 6 and focus on practice. So substantial number of them weren't in that category. Then 11 to 20, 21 to 50. So this constitutes hardly about 400 firms. And these firms are the relatively larger ones, and many of them are networked as part of global accounting firms. Many of them are larger firms. So effectively, if you see in India, larger firms would be less than 400. And even here, I would assume there would be reasonable number of firms where you would not have all of the partners spending their time from morning 9 to 6, all the 5-6 days of a week on practice. So they're all coming together, people coming together, loosely formed arrangements to be together. So that's the current status of the profile of the practicing units. And in terms of the now total number of members, those holding full-time COP is about 45%. Part-time COP, a small number of 3%. And then no COP is about 52%, which essentially is industry, but it does not mean actually industry. 52% does not mean industry. For example, there are many chartered accountants who are working in accounting firms who have not taken a COP, accounting firms, and they have not taken a COP. So those people are reasonably large number, and they're all actually working in practice units. So that 52% is not necessarily means people are industry. A sizable chunk of them actually work inside accounting firms. Then there is this interesting statistic of the members moving between practice to industry. So March 98, 60% of them were in practice, and 2020, 45% of them are in practice. And if you look at the right side of the same table, you have the number of members who have been added to practice versus added to industry in blocks, 94 to 98 period, 99 to 2003 period, in blocks. And if you see a period like 2004 to 2008, that 5-year period, substantial number of them actually joined industry. For some of you who are senior members here, you would recall that was almost the period when we had some bit of changes in the CA curriculum in terms of CA Foundation, PE1, PE2, CPT, all those kind of things, with huge focus on enrolling the students early. And that was the time when the BPO industry also was growing, and many of them actually moved into industry. And recall what I mentioned a little while ago, most of them 10 years industry experience are now getting back into practice, mid-career planning. So, and that's how you see the practice numbers increasing. And the recent year 1920, we see an increase in number of members in practice versus industry. And please recall, when I say industry, a reasonable of people in industry are people who have no COP. Industry means no COP, but many of them are actually working in accounting firms of different sizes. I also know small partnership firms of 3 partners, 4 partners, who have at least 2-3 chartered accountants on their employment roles without COP. So all of them are currently treated as industry, but they're actually in practice getting groomed to eventually take up a partnership or obtain a COP. The earlier data in a bar chart form, flat for some time, proprietary firms, and then scaling up. Same is the case with partnership firms and the total firms in practice. As far as the southern cities are concerned, the 4 major cities are concerned, as of 2020, a city like Bangalore, we had 1/3 of them, and you'll find this Chennai and Bangalore, 1/3 of them are in practice, and Hyderabad, half of them are in practice. The same is true with a place like Kochi. So as you go to larger cities, you'll find a larger proportion of them being in industry, and the smaller cities, you would have a substantial number of them in practice. A mix of the proprietary versus partnership firms in the southern region. Of the 16,000 firms, 4,500 of them are partnerships. Rest of them are proprietary firms. And among the members, those with full-time COP are about 27,000 of the total 57,000, which is more or less in sync with the national average. The partnership firms, the breakdown of partnership firms based on number of partners, almost similar to national statistics. What you see in brackets below is national statistics. Out of 13,217 all India partners with firms with 2 partners, 2,577 are in the south. And when it comes to 3 to 10, it's about 1,868, so on and so forth. Key point for us is, for the southern region, firms with size about 10 partners is about 55 firms are there. 55 firms are there. Now, networking of firms, why is it essential and what value does it add? All of us are in practice for growth, whether in business or practice, we are there for growth. And we all understand that wherever there is no growth, or in other words, stagnation, it leads to death. Stagnation is a clear red flag that it is going to lead to death. So for growth, several strategies are there. One of them is networking, merging, demerging in terms of our focus, practice in a corporate form, that is consultancy practice and all. So, and for today, we'll focus on networking as a growth strategy. As far as the practice units are concerned, my own personal view, there is nothing right or wrong about being a proprietary firm or a large partnership firm. It's a matter of choice. As far as the good number of practicing units are concerned, and please note, it is same across the world also. Sometimes I see people feeling a little defensive that we have more proprietary firms or smaller firms, but that is true across the world. Not including in developed economies, It's a matter of a person's choice that I want to be small. For me, small is beautiful. I want to be in a niche area. I don't want to do everything. So it's a matter of choice. So when people have that clarity in mind that they want to be small, practice in a niche area, and probably also have certain other interests to pursue, I'm happy to focus on my profession to such an extent, for that particular limited extent. It's perfectly fine to be a proprietary firm. There's nothing to be shy about it. And there are many proprietary firms where there are excellent professionals and finest minds in terms of whether it is taxation knowledge or in terms of knowledge relating to any of the corporate legislations, or for that matter, even accounting and audit knowledge. So there are many of them like that, and it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. But once you choose to be in a partnership mode and you have decided to pursue a path of growth in terms of size, it is in that situation that networking presents you an model, presents you a path for you to pursue your strategy of growing in terms of size. And size becomes quite relevant. Considering some of the market forces which we witness, and also the demand from investors for audit quality and ability to undertake complex audits across the world. Obviously, when you are a proprietary firm and there is limited capacity, there is a limitation in terms of taking up complex audits, large audits, or services across different geographies. So if you are wanting to pursue those opportunities, then it's very important to look at strategies which will help you get size. And size is very, very critical. And take our own personal choices in life, sync it with our own very personal choices in life. And I'm sure there are many relatively senior members also attending this webinar now. If you have seen the last 30 years, 40 years movement, when we look at our personal choices also, the choices have moved towards large. So when it comes to even buying some very basic things, what could be purchased from a shop 100 meters away from home, a small walk 100 meters away from home, you tend to buy it from a large e-commerce organization. I live in residential apartments where I have people serving the milk packet in the morning, but I now notice that a huge majority of the residents have started getting it from the e-commerce platform, Big Basket, etc., where the morning the guy comes and drops the milk packet along with 3-4 other requirements which they have. It's completely changed. So when that is the change with reference to our consumption behavior, our consumers, the consumers of our services, the customers for our services, their consumption pattern, their consumption behavior will also be similar. So it's unlikely to be different because it's ultimately individuals like you and me who are heading those organizations, those business organizations. So when you run such business organizations and they are our customers, they have the demands around globalization of business. And when it comes to the accounting firms, the scale of investment which is required, the capital which is required in audit firms has substantially gone up. When I started my practice, when I was in practice, I contributed nothing to join the firm. It was an existing firm. So I just had to take whatever profit share which grew up over a period of time. But there is nothing to contribute as capital, or even if something had to be contributed, it was small. But today, if you take any mid-size accounting firm, if they have to survive, beyond office infrastructure, which is also a reasonably big investment. Office infrastructure is a reasonably big investment. And if you look at almost all accounting offices, in fact, 2018, when I literally toured every town across the region, I found every accounting firm, even very small practicing units, having a reasonably good infrastructure. Most of the offices were air conditioned, even for staff and all, very well maintained offices. But my view, that physical infrastructure is a lesser capital requirement. But if you want to do larger audits and be relevant in terms of various other important services portfolio, there is a need to invest in technology. In today's context, if you want to audit a 500 crore company or a 1,000 crore company or a 2,000 crore or a 10,000 crore company, unless you have invested in tools, audit tools, training of staff, and invested in good audit managers who have hands-on experience, you cannot perform that audit. And even if you were to do, you're doing it only at your risk, So there's substantial amount of investment in people and tools. Those kind of technology tools, the investment is very, very substantial. In fact, globally, I'm seeing a conversation in various forums of IFAC, etc. I read a lot of literature where people are talking about a model of professional accounting firms where you have two categories of partners. One category of partners are those who provide financial capital. Another category of partners who provide professional knowledge. So it is becoming capital intensive, something similar to the way we all saw the medical profession grow. So for those who can recall the way the medical profession grew over the last 30 years, today, the medical profession, there's so much investment in equipment and technology. When the medical profession, like our profession also, was about one doctor practice, largely one doctor practice, they started coming together as polyclinics where 5-10 doctors used to come attend and all. But eventually they've got corporatized. Most of the hospitals, reasonable size of them, have got corporatized. Some of them choose to be proprietary doctors practicing niche areas or consulting on need basis, but almost all others have become part of a corporatized medical profession. It can be as owners of the medical profession or employees of that medical profession unit or as consultants of that particular unit. And the accounting profession will also follow that particular path. Audits will become very, very capital intensive. They'll become capital intensive. You have to invest in people, you have to invest in technology, and we will not have a choice on that. Then requirements of economies of scale and a huge perception that big is best. And all of us in our own personal life, if you look at almost all of us, maybe best, and that sort of drives our consumption behavior. So just like it is driving our individual consumption behavior, as I told you, our customers, auditees, clients are consuming our services, and their behavioral pattern, thinking is exactly the same, a perception that big is best. And a reputational assurance of using large firms as auditors. Here again, just look at our own personal lives. I recall at least my childhood, any small illness, you would only go to the neighboring doctor. And when I brought up my children, little bit of affordability, I would take them to the small hospitals, polyclinic and all. But in today's context, I see people take the children just for fever, just for sneezing. They would just walk unhesitatingly into a Muller or into an Apollo, because they feel that assurance that if you're going into Fortis, there is that hygiene, there is that process, and there is a cross check happening, so that reputational assurance is there for the people. So what we see as individuals for services we consume, the same is true for the industry who consumes our services. For them also, the reputational assurance is a substantial factor in their decision making. And we are seeing large organizations, banks, insurance companies, very openly stating that they would like to engage only large firms. So banks obviously are very big, insurance companies are very big and very complex, and all of them, given the kind of pressures on governance, results, timeliness, etc., are all looking at engaging only firms where there is capacity. And many times when you have a large firm, there are some beliefs that the competence is also relatively more because of a higher level of exposure. And there is also another belief that when you're a large firm, the firm has a fear of failure, that as a large firm, when you fail, you actually bring down lots of people. So there is that fear of failure. So all those things work in their minds, the auditors' minds. So let me take you through this definition of networking from the IFAC, International Federation of Accountants, of which Institute is a founder member. This is the 2004 definition. This is the 2004 definition, which was subsequently revised. I will take you through in the next slide. But